Do you remember the last time Alabama went to Knoxville to play Tennessee? It was a good time. As someone who didn't have a dog in the fight, of course, because 52-49 is what you'd call a classic Big 12 score. But now it's a modern day SEC score. We're not going to see that sort of score on Saturday. So I'm going to start with how Alabama wins the game. And then on the other side of this segment, we'll get to how Tennessee wins the football game. Key number one for the Alabama Crimson Tide: score early. This Alabama team has taken a loss on the road against Vanderbilt in one of the greatest upsets in the history of the sport. They were not able to get an early lead. In fact, they were trailing. And when you become a team that is trailing, you can force a little bit. It can be hard to stay within yourself, to just stay focused on the game plan, on execution. You try to do too much. And something I talked about earlier this week on the show with Luke Robinson of Locked On Alabama is how Jalen Milroe doesn't look right because he doesn't look comfortable. And if you get him behind Tennessee, like if the Vols jump out to a 10-0 lead, you have two problems there if you're Alabama. Three. Actually, you have three problems, not just one problem. Problem number one, you're trailing 10-0. Okay, that's obvious. Problem number two, the crowd is going to get into it, and they are going to be red hot for this one. Going to be a phenomenal environment, as it always is, there in Knoxville. And problem number three is you are going to compound what Jalen Milroe has already been doing anyway, including last week at home or the week prior when Alabama fans probably outnumbered Vanderbilt fans, where he starts pressing. He starts forcing the issue. And Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan, the offensive coordinator, and the rest of that staff have to find a way to get Jalen Milroe back on track. Because right now, he's gotten the train off the tracks. He's got a couple of wheels hanging off. It reminds me of this train set my grandparents have had that they break out around Christmas time every year. And it's magnetically wired, and you got to get the wheels just right on the track. And if the metal wheel is touching the metal track, the electricity goes and the train runs. And it goes one way and then it goes back the other way. But there's a little switch underneath. And when the switch hits, it changes the train's moving direction. But that can also cause the wheels to get off the track, and then the electricity isn't flowing. So Jalen Milroe the last couple of weeks has started out on the tracks, but then very quickly he faces a little bump or a switch gets flipped, and suddenly the wheels are off the tracks and there's a disconnect, and then the offense isn't rolling. So this is what Alabama has to be able to avoid. You cannot go out, and I'm not saying they have to get out to a 14-17-0 lead in order to win the football game. They don't. This is going to be a four-quarter knockdown, drag-out, field goal, go either way sort of football game. But they have to find a way to get Jalen Milroe comfortable and consistent. The two C's: get him comfortable in the pocket and get him playing consistently solid football, where he's not throwing the ball into double coverage, where he's protecting the football, making plays from the pocket. Get him back to the Heisman Trophy favorite, or at least one of them, that he was playing like through the first few games of the season, and not the guy we've seen the last couple weeks who resembles somebody that got benched a season ago because of turnover problems. So that's the biggest key for Alabama. You can't let Tennessee get off to a hot start, and you've got to find a way to settle Jalen Milroe down. Make him comfortable throwing the football from the pocket. And yes, you want to use his legs, but try and save that for the design situations, because when Milroe gets outside the pocket, I often feel like there's a higher chance he's going to turn the football over than there is he's going to make an explosive or dynamic play with his arm. So that's where the focus needs to be for Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. On the other side for Tennessee, run the ball, as Brent Key has famously said before. They have an interesting game, by the way. Georgia Tech, just quick side note, they play Notre Dame. They play Notre Dame at home. They're 11-point underdogs. I don't really know why, but anyway, that's a segment that I've talked about before. Tennessee, in the last couple of weeks, has been shut out in the first half. And guess what? Against Florida, they ended the game with, wait for it, 143 rushing yards. And the game before that, when they took on Arkansas, they ended the game with, wait for it, 174 rushing yards. Now, those are not abysmally terrible numbers, but this is definitely not the way the Vols offense operates at its most effective level. Because you see glimpses with Nico Iamaleava, and you've seen the wide receiving core have some really good and explosive plays, which I'll get to in just a moment. But Tennessee's got to be able to run the football. And I think they need to run it to have explosive plays, which is key number 2. Because this game could have a lot of drives for both of these teams where nothing happens, you're moving along, first downs are hard, and then all of a sudden, boom, 60 to 70-yard touchdown. Tennessee has to win the explosive plays battle. Alabama's got guys like Jeremy Bernard. Alabama's got guys like Ryan Williams. And Tennessee has to find a way to hit the deep shots. They don't have to be explosive in the run game. They just have to be capable so that they can allow Nico to go out and play what he has looked like at his best this year, which is a complementary piece, not the driving force out of necessity. He might be able to do that one day as Tennessee's starter. It's pretty clear at this point he can't do that right now. So Tennessee has to find more success running the football. They've got to get over 200 yards. If you tell me right now Tennessee is under 200 yards rushing in this game, Kane Womack will have, I think, won a little bit of favor back with the fans in Tuscaloosa, and he's on a little bit of thin ice right now. And that would tell me that Tennessee is having to throw the ball more than they really want to. Because the last time these teams played, Bryce Young went for 455 yards, Hendon Hooker went for 385 yards. You don't have two quarterbacks in this game that are capable of doing that. You've got two quarterbacks that are mega talented and can make really good plays, but they're not going to have over 800 combined passing yards. That's not the sort of game that we're going to see. And I don't think you're going to see 52 to 49 either. So Alabama has got to be able to control the crowd and settle down Jalen Milroe. Tennessee, they've got to be able to run the football and win the explosive plays battle. You're going to see it on both sides. Ryan Williams is really good, and Tennessee's got to be able to at least match. I don't think they necessarily have to have, 5 explosives to Alabama's 2, but if Bama creates 4 plays of 20 yards or more in the first half, Tennessee's got to be able to match. You can't ask this Tennessee offense to go 8 to 12 plays down the field every single time. You got to get a couple of easy ones. And against this Alabama secondary, those opportunities may very well be there because they've been incredibly exploitable this year. So those are the keys. My prediction on the game is coming tomorrow. So just tune in, won't you? Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.